Hey, I'm Jermaine Morgan, and you're watching Jermaine Morgan TV. This is actually season 3. What I did on last season when we ended, I asked a lot of questions to you. Well, I asked a few questions to what you guys wanted to see for this season, and based on what I gathered, I got some good ideas for some things that I wanted to do for this season. And one of the things I really wanted to do was to kind of incorporate guitar and bass. And for this episode, I wanted to show you kind of the relationship between the both of those instruments, being that I play both of these instruments. I wanted to do this, one main reason, because I realized there are a few of my audience members out there who play in churches or in settings where there are only bass, guitar, and drums. And I wanted to be able to kind of bridge that gap for those people, because I know most of the other videos that I've done in the past have incorporated like having a keyboard, or they're coming from the perspective of being in a full band where you normally have the keyboard player, that type of thing. But for this particular thing, I wanted to go back to my roots, kind of where I grew up. I grew up in a Baptist old school church, so the song that we're going to be using, and this backing track will be available for download, but the song that we're going to be using is an old school, my version of Since I Laid My Burdens Down. It's just a little loop that keeps going. And yeah, I'm just going to kind of break it down and show you guys the difference. This might be a 2-part lesson. We'll just kind of see how it flows, but I wanted you guys to kind of just see the relationship and how we can approach these songs and what we can do. So we're just going to play through it. Today I got my friend Mr. Jarius sitting in with us on drums today. We call him JJ, so y'all can call him JJ. I got him sitting in with us, and we're going to play a little music. So as you can pretty much hear with that, I mean, we're pretty much playing full for the most part, but a lot of what's given the rhythmic stuff that's happening there, especially in a band where you have limited amount of instruments, you want to, like, one, not overplay, but you want to play in a way that you fill up the song, even though you're not overplaying. So what I mean by that, like, the regular bass line for this, let's really just kind of go through the progression of it for you people that might not know this song. All it is, we're going 1. I'm just kind of going pivoting back and forth from the 1 to the 5. There's several ways you can do this, and I actually have a course that's available on my website now that I kind of get into these congregational songs and the progressions, that kind of thing, and it kind of gives you more insight on the progressions and how we approach them, the different ways. But for the sake of this lesson, I'm just going back 1, 5, 1 to the 4. Half step, 5, 6, 2, 5, 1. 7, 3, 6, and then we do the walk up to 6, 2, 5, 1, turn around, 3, chromatic up to the 5, and that's pretty much the whole entire progression. So what I'm doing here with the walk, I'm going 1, just regular chromatic up from the 3, and then we start chromatic up from the 6, back to 1. And then I'm using that to pivot, going to the 2. I'm going half steps in between that. 1, half step to the 2, 5, 1, 4. And I'm doing a lot of fill-in stuff, as I showed you guys earlier what the progression was. What's making it sound much more busy is the fact that I'm playing a lot of in-between notes. Because a lot of times if you was to just play the song as is, I'll show you, I'll play in context the basic progression without all of the fill-in notes, just so you guys can get a feel of what's really going on if I take away a lot of the extra stuff I'm playing. with that, it's a lot more space when I play it that way, and it gives it more of a country type shuffle, if you will, and it leaves a lot more space, and it depends on the approach that you're trying to go for. In some settings, that's enough. If you're trying to play country music or that type of thing, that's pretty much all you need to do. But if you're in a more churchy environment, it's gonna most of the time call for a little more. They want a little more movement out of the bass, that kind of thing, because it fills up the song and gives more of a shuffle kind of pattern to it. So I'll demonstrate by adding more notes added in between. So. What you can hear with that one right off the bat is there's a lot more movement happening. And in that type of approach, what I'm really trying to do is not let that bass line stop moving. Instead of just doing I want it to move a lot more, so I'm and I'm doing that without adding the in-between. I don't know if you remember last season, I did a lesson where I talked about the little in-between notes. I was talking about something about adding a little more to your groove, and I've talked about the in-between notes. And just in case you guys haven't saw that lesson, I was doing stuff like like it's the little stuff that you're doing, the ghost note rhythms that you're doing with your right hand that add a little more to the groove. But right now, for the sake of what I just played, I didn't add any of that. The only thing I was focusing on at the moment was just trying to make sure that the bass line kept moving. That was the main objective. I don't want the bass line to stop. I want to keep continual notes going. And for that, what we're doing there is just we're making sure that that groove keeps going, because I'm aware that I don't have a keyboard player, piano player, or organ player to fill up that rhythmic space, and the guitar player, he's doing a lot, so I gotta kind of make up the weight. And so what will make up that different space that's being missed there is adding those extra notes in there. And all I'm doing is what we call like lead-in type stuff. So I'm just leading into that 5. So where I was going earlier, I'm just leading to every one of those notes. 5, 1, 2, 5, 1, 4, 5, 6, 2, 5, 1. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just leading into all of those notes, and I'm playing stuff that's actually relative to what I'm talking about. So I know, based on the type of groove we in, it's more dominant sounding groove, so I know I can get away with that chromatic walk up starting from the 3. And almost all dominant sounding church music, like shouting music and that type of thing, you'll hear that. That's a pretty common theme. And just to get to the 2, all we're going is half step up to that 2, leading into that 5, 5, 1, 4, and I'm just doing half steps to get to each one of those notes. So as you can hear, I'm just doing like simple lead-in notes, and they help me get to where I'm going. So and using half steps to get to the next note is always a great thing that you can do to kind of incorporate into your plan. So there I'm going 1, half step up to the 2, half step up to the 5, half step to the 1, half step to the 4, and everything else is just those chromatic walks. And so now the other thing I want to show you guys is now adding that rhythmic stuff that happens in the right hand to make it feel a little different. So now we got the first one was, remember that was more of the country approach to it, and the next one was just straight walking. And it's almost like a jazz walking bass type of approach, but of course it's a little different than jazz. I mean, the idea in terms of the notes, how they're falling, is almost the same, but the approach that you're taking with it is almost completely different. So basically walking bass from jazz. And the thing we want to do with it is make it a little more churchy by adding the rhythmic stuff in the right hand. So so as you can hear, I'm going, I'll do it slow. So you got this kind of for a better analogy of it, it's almost thinking about a tire that's on a flat and it's just kind of rolling around, hitting that bump every time. So it's like, and so what you can hear me doing there is I'm going, and what we were doing is we're using those ghost notes in the right hand. And I'm basically using, and you can alternate your fingers, whether you're using the first or the second one to pick the note. It really doesn't matter. The biggest thing is I'm using the string above as like a ghost note, pivot point rather. And this is not rule of thumb for anybody. Again, I always tell you guys in my lessons, this is just the way I do it. It's the way it works for me. I'm not saying you have to do it this way or you have to play these songs this way. But I noticed when you play these songs in a certain setting, just say if a bass player sits down and he's playing it the first way, or you got a bass player that takes a different approach. Each bass player with his approach is going to take the song somewhere completely different, because you're going to start, what's going to happen. All right, so we'll demonstrate here. What's going to happen, I'm going to play it the first way, and based on the way I play it, the drummer is going to respond based on the way I play it. His groove is going to change based on whatever I'm doing. So we'll play it, and I'll play a couple of different ways. I'm going to play the first way. I'm not going to even tell you what I'm going to do, and I'm just going to see how you're going to respond to what I'm doing, Jay. So you notice right away, as soon as I changed and went more to this country or it can be considered Dixieland kind of pattern, he changed his rhythm up on the snare with what he was doing to match what I was doing on the bass. So each one of these approaches that you're taking from your instrument, know that there's always more than one way to approach a song, or even a groove for that matter. And whatever you do from a bass perspective, because that bass and that drum relationship is so strong, whatever you're doing is going to affect the vibe and the feel of the song. And I'm more interested in how the song feels. I mean, I want to play the right notes. Don't get me wrong. I want to make sure that we're playing all the right notes. But at the end of the day, what sets certain bass players apart from other bass players is their feel. We're all playing the same group of notes, but sometimes your feel, the little stuff you're doing, or The little in-between stuff is what really matters in kind of making a song what it needs to be. So in this lesson, I'm not going to be able to cover the guitar portion of this lesson, but I will cover that on next week. But what I want you guys to focus on is kind of paying attention, especially you that only have maybe a 3-piece band. And I'm just using this song for an example, but just start paying attention to the songs that you're playing and look at what you're doing feel-wise as a bass player and see, is your feel affecting the song in a positive or in a negative way. Again, guys, do go over to JermaineMorgan.net and check out the Congregational Songs course. I dig a little bit more into the songs and that kind of thing. You can find out a little bit more about the course on the course video as you see it there. But I appreciate you guys for tuning in, and thank you for over the 10,000 people or so who've subscribed and who's watching this channel. I don't know who you are, but I do appreciate you, and I appreciate you guys tuning in. Continue to spread the word, let people know, and we're back. I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.